Essentially in your life, this is all it is. What the world will throw at you, it is not 100% your choice. To some extent we can control, that's about it. World may throw anything at you, we don't know what it will throw at you. It may throw disease at you, it may throw death at you, it may throw bullets at you, it may throw shame at you, it may throw all kinds of things. But what you make out of it is 100% yours. Now, this one thing, if you take charge, no matter what world throws at you, you will turn it into your well-being. Then, where you go, what kind of situations you live, whether you go to heaven or hell, doesn't matter because whatever is thrown at you, you know you will turn it into well-being. This quality is what we are worshipping. This quality is what is worth worshipping because this is true with every one of us. If world throws nastiness, you will become nasty. World throws bitterness, you will become bitter. World throws anger, you will become angry. This is the way most human beings live. Because he lived above that, we said he is godlike. But what happened in their life, the physical events of their life, if you look at it, it's one big tragedy. At the age of 32, you got nailed, had a terrible death. You call that a successful life? No. But we bow down to him because it seems, we don't know, but we believe, or people have believed always, that even when he was nailed, he said, they know not what they're doing, forgive them. For that we bow down to him, not because he got nailed. Because getting nailed is not a successful life, isn't it? But even if you nail him, he did not lose his quality. For that we bow down. So that's all that matters to us, whether they existed or not. That they are an inspiration for you, whether everything that's said about them is true or not. Even this is not your problem. You're not a historian, all right? You just need some icon to move towards a better way of existing for yourself, that's all. What does it matter? Krishna did not exist, Jesus did not exist, what does it matter to you? 2000 years ago, whether a man lived or did not live, or it's just a figment of somebody's imagination, what does it matter? It is the quality that matters, isn't it? We recognize these qualities as great qualities, in some way trying to emulate them to whatever extent one can. That's what we're looking at.
When different people came to Krishna and were explaining about how they perceived their dharma, there's this one particular person who's meek and who took anything that came his way in total acceptance. And so he says that's his dharma. And Krishna says, your dharma is that of the coward or that of the meek, and I'll let you pass. Whereas Jesus says the meek will inherit my kingdom. So what is the difference between how Krishna perceives that as meek and not performing the dharma, whereas Jesus says the meek will inherit my kingdom?
One thing that you should always consider, why I'm going through all these elaborate stories of Krishna's life is so that you perceive him in the right context. It's always very important that one perceives in what kind of situation and what kind of social realities one lived and why they spoke the way they spoke. There is one aspect of the teaching which is of eternal nature, which you will see whoever speaks, they will speak in the same terms. But there's another aspect of the teaching which is relevant to the people who are sitting there at that moment. That relevance keeps changing from generation to generation. Not only it's from generation to generation, within the generation,
Also, from person to person, from groups of people to groups of people, from societies to societies, it is a different reality. So, what kind of social realities did Jesus live in? And what kind of social realities did Krishna live in? And what kind of social realities you are living in right now? We have to bring some kind of alignment to these three if we have to understand this aspect. Let's just take this, that you brought up this meek thing now. One aspect where he sort of more substantiated this aspect of being meek is, if somebody slaps you on one cheek, show him the other cheek. You are definitely not capable of that. How many of you are capable of this? How many of you are capable of this, that if you're slapped on one cheek, you'll show the other? Genuinely, how many of you are capable of this in your life? Nobody? You are? We know you. Huh?
Better to run away.
They may chase you and beat you. So, you're not capable of that. He was talking to his closest disciples when he was talking about sending them out to spread his message. He said, when you go out with this new message, if people come and slap you on one cheek, show the other. But that's not the teaching for all of you. Can you live by those guidelines? Can you? Now, before we consecrated the Dhyanalinga, I used to tell the brahmacharis, if you go outside, if somebody spits on your face, with a big smile, wipe it and come back. Don't do anything else. But now, in the last 3-4 years, I'm telling them, if somebody talks nonsense, you give it to him properly. Not because my perception of world has changed, my role in the world has changed. My perception of world has not changed in any way, but my role in the world has changed. So at that time I told them, if somebody spits on your face, show them a happy face, wipe it and come back. Now I tell them, you stand up, you stand your ground and tell them what you have to tell them. Don't take any shit from anybody. Is this contradictory? It is not contradictory, just acting as the situations demand to make yourself most effective in the conditions you're living in right now. So Krishna is living in a totally different kind of condition and he spoke differently to different people. Now, if you take this, it still doesn't feel like a book to me. Now Amala picked something out of Jnana Yoga because she is a Jnana person. Now he picked something which he thinks is very contradictory. Somebody else will naturally pick up something from the bhakti that he is talking about. If you open the pages of bhakti or devotion that Krishna is talking about, he will sound very similar to Jesus. If you open the other pages, this is a completely different man. If you want, you just pick those bhakti yoga pages and read, he will sound very much like Jesus. But you pick the other pages and see, he is a totally different man altogether. Another thing we need to understand is, Jesus is hugely handicapped because of the kind of situation in which he is existing. He has no real freedom of speech. He mostly lived like a fugitive, here and there speaking to small groups of people. The moment he picked up little momentum, you know what they did to him. Krishna did not live in such a condition. He has an army behind him. All his friends are kings and emperors. He can speak what he wants. It's very different. Jesus is a fugitive. If he says one word more, his life is finished, and it happened that way. Krishna is not a fugitive. He's a kingmaker. Every king around owes something to him. He can call upon large armies to fulfill his purpose. So he's placed in a completely different situation. When it comes to the approaching the eternal, Jesus is just talking about the yoga of devotion, nothing else. Because one thing, that's his way. He's unidimensional. He's just talking about one dimension of approaching the ultimate. He's just saying, just follow me, it'll happen. It is devotion. Krishna is also saying the same things. He's saying, I'm the way. I think Jesus said something like, you can only know my Father through me. But I think he went further somewhere else and said, me and my Father are one. But in that part of the world, uttering such a thing was total sacrilege. Anybody claiming that me and my Father are one means that I am God. Such a claim will immediately bring death penalty in that part of the world. But here it was not so, because any number of yogis have said it. And people treated them as gods because they experienced the divine in them. They really treated them as gods, they worshipped them as gods. So that was not a new issue in India. When Krishna said, I am the ultimate divine, people were not surprised or shocked, or it was not a sacrilege, because that was very much a part of people's knowing. They were very happy he has come when they are alive. Any number of yogis have said this, well-known ones and very minor ones. When I say minor, in terms of knowing, social acknowledgement. They're great people within themselves. But socially, in the world, they're very small people. Even those people have been worshipped as gods. You will see if you know Indian culture, if you go to villages, there'll be one little yogi there, only that village knows about him. They worship him as God, with regular form of worship as they would do it in a temple. Any number of yogis have such worship. So it was not new for him to claim, I am God. But for Jesus, it was totally out of place in that culture. He is saying, me and my Father are one, is brought him death. Any number of times people try to kill Krishna, but he is willing. But they try to kill him, not for these utterances. They tried to kill him for political and military reasons because he was involved in those affairs. Nobody ever tried to kill him because of what teaching he gave. They only tried to kill him for political and military reasons. So, when Krishna says, the way of the meek is way of inaction, I will let you pass. It's not of any great consequence to me. He is not putting down Jesus, he is just saying, it's a small way, it's just one narrow opening. I will let you pass, all right, you pass. He's not saying, so only to one man he said, I turn my back. To everybody else he said, I'll let you pass, but this is not for everybody. Everybody cannot go out in the world and show their cheeks to everybody else. There are some people who can do it. Yes? There are just a very few people who can do that if they're slapped on one cheek, genuinely show the other cheek. Not because they read it in Bible. Genuinely, they can show the other cheek to be slapped too. They are very, very few people. So he is saying, this is the way of inaction, but I will let you pass. It's just a narrow opening. Not everybody can go through this. That's all he's saying. He's not contradicting. He's just putting it in its right place where it belongs. Is that not the reality? All of you will not pass through that doorway of showing both the cheeks and getting slapped on both sides, isn't it so? It depends whom you're dealing with. If you're dealing with a very sensitive, compassionate person and at a moment he slapped one cheek, you show the other, then he will hug you and kiss you. Now you go and show other cheek to… there are certain kind of people on the street, you show the other cheek, they will smash your head. Yes or no? Aren't there such… haven't you met such people? Every day you meet them.